guys, Finn here. That is of course FY double N, and yeah, obviously I've spoken about some great young players that I think are going to do really well in the future, and I just want to recap and talk about the fact that it did not come home for England during the 2018 World Cup in Russia. But I will rather look at in 5 years' time, or just in a few years' time, what I think the England squad could look like, just so I can show off some of the best prospects and youngsters in England itself. And yeah, you can just share your opinions about what you think down below, obviously. Now, let's start off with our goalkeeper. Our goalkeeper would be Jordan Pickford. I think that's a very debatable one. Lots of people might say Butlin could become great again if Stoke come up and he goes to a better team. But obviously it looks like Pickford is the #1 English goalkeeper. Obviously he's not doing well with Everton this season, which is sad. But overall he's still a really good keeper. But we don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. Another goalkeeper might rise up and do really well, or another hidden gem might come out, like Nicholas Pope from last season from Burnley. Obviously he just came out of nowhere and selected for the England squad over Joe Hart, and obviously a Jordan Pickford could turn into Joe Hart and just totally disappear. And obviously in front of him, the two defenders, it's kind of the two centre backs rather, it's kind of here and there, but I've gone with Maguire, obviously from Leicester City, a national hero for England. People worshipped him, just strong defender. Obviously had huge links to Manchester United. I feel like I say that quite a lot with lots of players, but I'm kind of glad we didn't get him, although I would prefer him over some of our current centre-backs, but I do feel like there are better options out there. But otherwise, he is a very strong, reliable centre-back for Leicester City. Now obviously next to him, I think I would put Michael Keane of Everton, obviously also at Manchester United at a time. He is very strong, but I think he still has a lot to learn and a lot to go through before becoming a world-class centre-back. I just feel in English terms, he's maybe one of the better options over some other centre-backs. Of course, I would just like to mention John Stones. I would put him there, but at the moment, I don't see me putting him ahead of Keane or Maguire just because his form's not necessarily the best, but you could put either him or Keane in there. I've just chosen Keane. Okay, now my right back, obviously I've put Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he's a great attacking fullback. I think he's doing really well. If you wanted a more defensive fullback, you could have gone with Wan-Bissaka. They're really young Crystal Palace defender who's doing super well. But I've just chosen Trent Alexander-Arnold in front of him just because I seem to think he's more reliable. He has been to a Champions League final, and I don't see that happening to Wan-Bissaka unless he does end up making a move to an Arsenal or Chelsea or a big club, which I think will happen in the next 2 to 3 years possibly. Okay, now on the left back side, I'd have to put Luke Shaw there. I think Luke Shaw's just been top form this season. It's incredible. He has 1 or 2 discipline things to work on, or just tackling in order to get less yellow cards, because he is quite high up this season with yellow cards. But at the moment, I'd say he is one of the better English left backs in football at the moment, and it makes me really happy to see that, especially after, as I've mentioned this before, his Southampton leg break injury, or he was at Manchester United, but the ex-Southampton player, which, by the way, I have made a video about the best ex-Southampton players, so obviously check that down in the description below if you want to see that video. Okay, but obviously I think Luke Shaw, now listen, this might sound crazy, but could be a potential captain, not for them, but as a vice captain perhaps, because I think he's a very good leader. You see the way he talks and the way he's very professional about his team, and he's very professional as a footballer and as a person. Okay, now in front of them I've got a centre defensive midfielder, Eric Dyer. For a long time he was the only English player in the team who has played out of England. Obviously he played for Lisbon in Portugal. Very strong defensive midfielder, can play centre back as well, but I prefer him in the midfield position. Ahead of him would be Ali, obviously from Dele Alli from Spurs. Great attacker, great everything. He's been a bit hidden this season, but I think overall he's exactly what is needed. Of course, there's lots of attacking midfielders, which I will go over in more honourable mentions a bit later on, okay? Now, obviously, to the left of him, I'd have to put Sancho. Sancho's proving himself such a talent. One of the leaders of assists in the Bundesliga this season with Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, he's got an assists already for England at his young age, and he's showing so much promise. And I'm a bit upset that City let them go. I mean, obviously I'm not a City fan, but I think they really are regretting getting rid of Sancho. Okay, so obviously on the right wing side, I'd have to put Sterling. Lots of people would say he is probably the most in-form English player at the moment, which I can't really disagree with, especially after his recent hat-trick. He's had amazing form lately, doing really well for City and for England, and I think he could be a possible Ballon d'Or nominee. I don't think he'll be a Ballon d'Or winner, but I think in a few years he could be in the top 10 just by the way he plays and the kind of player he is, along with players like a Leroy Sané, really good wingers, both from City obviously. Tell me what you guys think about that. Okay, now because of their two striking options, I put two strikers up there because I can't see England putting either of these players on the bench. I think they're going to put both Rashford and Kane as the strikers. Rashford is becoming such a great talent. Obviously, he's been rising up and his name's been mentioned for a very long time. But I think his form's just hitting the mark under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. He's doing very well for England, very strong, reliable striker. Still got a lot to learn. Obviously, there's been talks recently with Barcelona, them saying they might want to bring him in to replace Suarez. I don't know what to think about that, but yeah, I think Rashford's definitely a world-class striker. But you never know what's going to happen with striking positions. A few years ago, Sturridge was the main man for England, and then form just fell apart. Talking about form, Harry Kane is my next striker. Obviously, always in top form. Was in the podium for top position on the podium for Golden Boots every season for a while. Obviously, Mo Salah kicked him out last season. But overall, the English captain, who I will put as captain of this team, is such a reliable striker. Has been a bit cursed with injury, but overall, just a very strong striker who you can always rely on to get the goals, to lead up front. Okay, now I think overall this is a very young English team, and I think it could do very well. As I said, there are a bunch of honourable mentions, like Butland, I put one in Osaka. Hudson-Odoi obviously could do very well in the future, along with Walker. I would have loved to put Walker in, but I don't know if Trent Alexander will pass him or not. Walker's a very debatable one. You guys can also talk to me in the comments about that. Lingard obviously does very well, but whether he'll go over Ali, I don't know. Possibly. Stones, I've said possibly. Who else have I put here? Gomez, Winks, Abraham, Foden, Nelson, and Maddison. All these players are very good, along with Chilwell as well. As I said, all these players could play for England. It's a very strong England squad, and they could bring football home. Okay guys, now tell me what you think about this future England squad, and tell me any other nations you want me to do, whether it's Germany, France, Brazil, Belgium, any team. You guys tell me. I'm very close to hitting 50 subscribers, so if I could get some help with that, I'd really appreciate that. Like this video, share it, get all the support you can, and help me out. Thank you very much. This has been fun. FYWN. Cheers.